The Crimean Goths were beaten and had subjected in the 8th century. The northern frontier was located in the northeast of the later Moscow of the headwaters of the river Volga. The Khazars were controlling trade with spices, textiles and slaves on parts of the Silk Road and on trade routes between Constantinople, which was the second Jerusalem, and the Baltic area for several centuries. This confirms what we said earlier. It was these Khazars, Jews, that controlled the whole of the Silk Road, including slaves in the 8th century. They would have you believe only the whites brought in slavery. Wrong. And they even maintained trade relations with the West, and even as far as the Caliphate of Cordoba, which is Spain. They developed their own coinage. Well, I never. An exchange between the Islamic world and Europe was only possible via Khazarian mediation, where they can impose their levy or levies, taxes. That's where the term levy comes from. The Radhanites, Hebrew, a Jewish merchant guild, controlled these trading routes. The Khazars lived on the duties levied for the products sold, as well as the toil or the toll the tribes subjected to had to pay. They made money off every single piece. The Khazars, however, like the modern day version, did not have to pay a national tax to the centralised government. That's where your taxes or levies came from. Now, White, after the tape machine had been turned off, accused Harold Rosenthal of not living up to his agreement in replying truthfully to my question as to the Jews being the God's chosen people. He replied again, "We are God's chosen people. Most Jews do not like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer. So I wasn't lying, and we are his chosen people, and Lucifer is very much alive." White, I was stunned and had no further comment. And then said, "I'd watched this arrogant, boastful person change at times like a chameleon that changes his colour. Many times he showed a hatred, yes, even a venom, at the conclusion I felt unclean being around him. But he did tell him the truth, and yes, it's unpalatable." White then said, "Much of what Harold Wallace Rosenthal said brought to the surface a reality we veterans have known all along, but this Jewish treachery is more shocking when getting it all in one package. It has been alleged that Harold Rosenthal was killed, he was, because he talked too much, so it's understandable if true, inasmuch as he made such shocking statements almost 7 years ago that we now see as a reality." Took him 7 years to realise it. As an example, we cite the staggering exploitation of the Negro and the black presence everywhere today. We minimised Mr. Rosenthal's boasting of their control of our churches, as it was unbelievable then. Now, in the fall of 1983, it is a reality that the Supreme Court sanctions IRS-approved state churches, which means they belong to them. When Rosenthal made such statements about church control, we felt he was just bragging, but the present-day persecution of the church and its ministries here in America by the government is today a fact. If you were told, he said, that a sheriff and 3 deputies would wait in the darkness of midnight to arrest a pastor, one Everett Sileven in Omaha, Nebraska, because he intended to resume the daily educational ministry in the Faith Baptist Church in Louisville, you would not have believed it 6 years ago. Today, however, is just another bizarre episode in one of the most incredible stories in American history. Organised Jewry is determined, and the final oppression of Christianity via taxation and regulation is now a fact, he said. You want to know why they're destroying the churches today? This is my opinion now. Not because they hate Christianity. It's because those churches have served their purpose and they no longer need them to play their game. The churches were their pawns all along, to convince people of their external God when it was internal all along. The churches, the governments and banks are all going to go. I warned of that 2 years ago, as they believe their role of subjugating the public is now won, and so the need for those establishments of control is no longer required. This is called decentralisation that we warned about in the Clowns in Panic show. The enemy is not coming, the enemy is here. War has been declared on Christianity, churches, religious freedoms, the true American way, and the white race. That is what Mr. White said. The answer is no, they haven't declared war on the establishments. The establishments were vehicles to destroy the white race and other colours all along. White then says our freedoms worth standing for, living for, fighting for or dying for. If so, let's stand up and be seen and speak up and be heard. The time to fight for freedom is while we still have the freedom to do so. Sadly, that was another illusion game. You have freedoms. But they told that to the German people in the 1930s and 40s as well. We were all duped. White said Christians are to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Salt and light are dominion qualities. Oh dear. Where is the evidence of that, I might ask? There is none. And that's the brutal truth. And it's like the 100 series where they ask, where are all the good guys? The answer was, there are none. And the solution is, we have to create them. Be it good guys, freedoms, culture, or a peoples to be proud of. That gives our children a chance to really develop as an advanced species. There are lots of good people, but none of them coalesce. That's the problem. Divide and conquer. That suits their purpose. White said it's time for Christians to exercise godly dominion. Oh dear, godly dominion. Well, dominion means lordship, means supreme authority, lord and master. Who, which, or what God wants dominion in that manner over his creation? That is hierarchy. And that is the domain of their God, Lucifer, not ours. White said, and if by the instrument of governmental authority a people is being driven to its destruction, then rebellion is not only the right, but the duty of every member of that people. And I agree with that 100%. But to do that, we have to come together. That is the premise and remit of creating the People's Club. It is not bound by race, colour, creed, religion, gender or cultures. Just people coming together for a common cause. It is the only solution. The need for that may well be felt, reinforced and delivered this coming month. Get some extra food, gas and cash. White then said, the hot blood which stood at Concord still flows in our veins. That reference of Concord was in relation to the war in 1775 known as the Revolutionary War. And it was as revolutionary for the home country as the Russian one 241 years later. That war, like all other American wars, was a staged event to gain more control. Not for the Americans, but these Jewish psychopaths. And this is what Americans really need to understand and grasp. Your history of great valour, bravery and courage against a foreign invader was a total lie. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The enemy was already within, including the great presidents of the past like Washington and Jefferson and others. All of them worked for the system of control and to line their own pockets. Washington worked for the British establishment in that war. Jefferson worked for the French. Who ran the British and the French? The Rothschilds. So they weren't fighting for America, they were fighting for Rothschild's control. Don't believe me? Go and check it out yourself. And the fact is, it was the Russians that saved your bacon in the two wars in the 1800s and the one in the 1900s. But those nasty Russians are commies. Yes, that is what the likes of Mr. Rosenthal would want you to believe. Go ahead, like Anna von Reitz, blaming the country of Britain. The reality is the UK was signed over to these clans via the Magna Carta in 1215. Britain has never been ran by Brits since. Just like the Crown, it is Rothschild's owned and hence the Jewish elite establishment. White then said we need true Americans for the defence of America against Jewish tyranny, and there are millions of freedom-loving, red-blooded Americans out there waiting to be told. So let us ally ourselves together in the refusal to permit these alien devils from ruining our once great nation. When the American people really discover and realise what the unspeakable Jew has perpetrated, their wrath will know no bounds, and the gutters will run deep with blood, he said. That was in 1983. And sadly, the Americans, and they're not the only people I might add, but as this interview was about America, the Americans ignored that in favour of distractions, religions, monetary greed and a lack of personal responsibility by allowing successive governments to take more and more away from you. The truth and the proof in that lies in what has unfolded in this past year alone by the same Jewish conspirators. They have taken your freedoms, lifestyle, money, jobs, businesses, homes, free speech, and your minds all in one swoop. And the American people as a collective have done what? By and large, to date, not much. But that is changing. We have just let them march all over us with barely a whimper. Too distracted by Trump, Biden, politics and TV bullshit to see what's going on. It's a hostile takeover of the country. We cannot go on being all too content to sing anthems, thump chests and wave flags. Yet where is your fight? Your country has been looted and destroyed from within by these psychopaths, aided and abetted by greed-based or cowardly politicians for their own gains. Do you really think on the brink of announcing their one world government they would let a maverick control the so-called superpower country? Look at what he has done for Israel since being in office. It doesn't look good or augur well, no matter how you divert it. What about the snake-in-law Kushner running the bloody White House alongside Kissinger and other psychopaths? Are they part of the secret chess moves, or is it a faction policy? That's what the question we have to answer. Now, I will be delighted to be proven wrong, and this is all a giant chess game of secret moves, but we can never blindly trust any of their organisations, as all have proven this year to not only be corrupt, but morally bankrupt in relation to we the people. The people have to take back the country. It will not be done waiting for internet saviour programmes where we all sit back and join the wake club. We need to build a new country for and by the people, not dictated by foreign money people, Jewish elites, puppet politicians who have less power than you or I. This country is on the brink of war. And no, that is not a euphemism. That is now the reality facing every American right here, right now, within this calendar month. It is pure folly to believe that war will be for our benefit and more likely to be a faction war of many casualties. All whilst those in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv and Negev laugh at our own stupidity. Mr. Rosenthal told you all that. They laugh at us. Final piece tonight. Once again, I'm going to remind you, this is not all Jewish people. Not all Jews are Zionist psychopaths. In fact, most of the modern Jews are living in abject poverty, while these snakes just steal off everyone and everything. They told you they're quite happy sacrificing their own people for power and control. So we must come together, all the colours, and the average Jewish people. We are in dangerous times now, real dangerous times, particularly in America, where all options are now a possibility, including civil war. I ask you not to fight for your country, but to fight for your fellow man, woman, and children. All countries were used as tools of oppression against we the peoples, and all countries. All evidence and beliefs must be put on maximum non-trust alert now. We cannot be blindsided by faction-based narratives. Should the fight be proven to be for and by the people, then we trust, but not before. Remember, all these alt media groups know less of how the mechanisms of world politics, control systems and factions than you all do. Use that knowledge to teach those who ask. Engaging bots is an exercise in futility. They are never going to get it. Love and support each other now more than ever. We are all we have. Until the migration from their world begins. Calmness, balance, 45-55 are all required in abundance now. While some fears are to be expected, do not let them dictate your life. We were told last year the movie must play out. It is the final battle between the light and the dark here. We cannot show fear. We must show courage and bravery. We must come and fight together. Your beacons of the light must shine brightly now and stay lit. Fear will dim them. Do not allow a future event, which is what fear is, to dim you. Shine up, shine down, shine within and without, as above and so below, and pierce their veil of illusion. Rise above it and them and shine. Maybe part of the plan I put forward 2 years ago of total lockdown of this country and really clean up the swamp is about to unfold. Full details of that were in a previous show. It was considered too radical back then. It may now be unfolding. But I will repeat again, we must not fully trust in the plan until full proof that it is for the people's benefit only. We are in unprecedented times now, the likes of which has never been seen before. The global elite forced into more and more panic measures, all out in the public's view, so eventually all will see. No longer is it hidden behind the scenes war. It's now open to the public viewing. This is our time to unite. Set fire to their phoenix, and we will rise out of their ashes. Their Bennu bird of death, which like Lucifer will have its wings clipped once and for all. It is time for the public to eradicate the virus. The virus was the Hebrew Anunnaki and their armies of minions all along. These are the same people who created covidiots to push their death and control poisons, strip you of all your rights, freedoms, businesses, jobs and a lifestyle that resembles incarceration. Masks off, lockdowns ignored, and let's open the mom and pop stores again, as they are essential for all communities, not the big box stores these same clowns own. The window of opportunity to spring forward will march on and off and forward for Earth. We are the gate. 2 with 1 of the 3 becomes the trinary. Renaissance and resistance is our path. I love you all, and please stay strong in yourself, your belief, and go within. Our time is upon us, and our truth is marching on. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams.